everybody, it is Sunday, February 25th, 7:15 or so in the evening, and it is time for Doc's Racing Digest. I am Brian Langlois, also known as Doc. I'm actually joined here by one of my cat friends, Artie, as I do broadcast from my office here. Veterinarian by trade and by day, but passionate racing fan and thoroughbred racehorse lover 24 hours a day, as is everybody who's tuning in. So it's going to be a little bit of a lighter show this week as far as content. There hasn't been a heck of a lot going on in the racing world, at least. It's been a little bit of a down week as we sit between major derby preps. But we are going to have a whole bunch of other things that we're going to look at, as I am going to move Monsieur Optimus out of the way here. And let's see, let's get right to it. One big stakes race, sort of stakes race anyway, that we did have over the weekend was the Howell's Hope. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what happened in that.
They're all in line. Racing in the Howell's Hope. Malagasy was a step slow to begin. It was a good start for Economic Model and Irish War Cry, who marches forward toward the rail. Malagasy was slowly away, but now is into the race, while racing into third, only about a half length behind. From fourth and Send It In, then Conquest Big E, who's down toward the rail. Out wide is Giuseppe the Great, and Tower of Texas is at the back of the field, but it's a tightly knit field, as there's only about 4 lengths from first to last, with 6 furlongs left to go. Javier Castellano and Malagasy now take up the running to take the lead by a length. Over outside running Send It In second. Splitting Horses Economic Model is now into third. Back to fourth and Irish War Cry. Then to the outside goes Giuseppe the Great in between horses Tower of Texas. And the gray Conquest Big E relegated to the 7th and last position, but he's no more than 4 lengths off the lead with half a mile to run. The opening half mile was picked up to 46 and 4 as they swing around the rider. Send It In gone wrong, unseated the rider around the far turn. At the quarter-mile pole, Malagasy is all in, tackled by Irish War Cry, who looms up on the outside of Economic Model. These two kick for home. Economic Model on the inside, Irish War Cry on the outside. A good old-fashioned street fight with 1/8 of a mile left to go. Economic Model pulling out some. He has the lead. Irish War Cry, the classy colt on the outside, is second. Back to third and Tower of Texas, but through it all, Economic Model and Irad Ortiz Jr. proving best. Economic Model to win the Howell's Hope a length and a half. Irish War Cry was second. Third, Tower of Texas. Fourth was Conquest Big E. There is a steward's inquiry. Hold all tickets, please.
So, as you can see there, obviously a very game effort by both Economic Model and Irish War Cry. Irish War Cry coming back off of, up and down 3-year-old season. He was kind of this enigma horse. He would run a good race, bad race, good race, bad race. Hopefully, Ground Motion has said that he's obviously come back a lot bigger, a lot stronger, hopefully more fit for his 4-year-old season. So definitely a great first race back. Wonderful race by Economic Model as well. Obviously, there was a little bit of a stop and then start again in that race around the turn due to a breakdown. And fortunately, we can say that Johnny Velasquez was okay and walked away from it. Fortunately, the horse was not. One of the hardest parts of the game, obviously, and condolences go out to all of the connections of that horse. Obviously something you don't want to see, and we're not going to broadcast it here because there's really no need to do that. It'd be very interesting to see how the handicap division starts to play out this year, as there really aren't a lot of super high big shooters. I mean, you've got West Coast a little bit. Maybe Irish War Cry is going to pop up, maybe some others, but you just really don't know. It's a little bit of a toss-up division right now. We just don't know exactly what's going to happen. So that's kind of where we stand with the older horses, and not a lot going on the Derby Trail this week, kind of an in-between week and things like that. So, as I said during last show, we are going to focus a little bit more this week on the fillies, and of course there is the Run for the Lilies, the day before the Run for the Roses, in the Kentucky Oaks. And the Oaks has its own kind of stake series that leads up to the Kentucky Oaks with points just as much as the Derby does. And so we are going to, as if I can clear this right, there we go. We are going to take a look right now as to where we stand on the Kentucky Oaks trail, as well as how we got to where we are.
Still 8 lengths behind as they come to the top of the stretch. Road to Victory grabs the lead off the turn. Monomoy Girl has to respond right back, and she cut the corner and reclaims the lead. So it's Monomoy Girl in front. Monomoy Girl now in front by 2 with 1 furlong to go. Road to Victory is full out, but is still second. Farther back, it's Cash Out and Desert Honeys. Monomoy Girl's in front, But battling on is Road to Victory. Road to Victory's not done yet. Monomoy Girl has to respond to Road to Victory, who surges up alongside to win it. Road to Victory. Up in time over Monomoy Girl. Cash Out and Dessert Honeys.
The quarter pole in the Chandelier Stakes. 2 lengths in front of Piedi Bianchi. 6 more lengths to Dancing Bell, one of the maidens in 4th. Less than 3/16 from home, and Moonshine Memories shakes clear of Alluring the Star. Piedi Bianchi is next, a long way clear of Dancing Bell. Moonshine Memories clear with a 16th left to go. Moonshine Memories too strong in the run home. She'll win it by 3 lengths. Alluring Star tries to hold second from Piedi Bianchi. Did so by a half length, well clear then of Dancing Bell in 4th.
3 lengths from the lead of Heavenly Love, and Heavenly Love is opened up on a 4-length margin to the top of the home stretch. Princess Warrior has her work cut out for her. Dancing still second toward the inside. Then you've got Sassy Sienna 4th between horses. The rest are far back. Final furlong of the Darley Alcibiades. Heavenly Love, Julian Leperoux in an absolute romp here. Princess Warrior was home second, and then it was Dancing who hung on for third. It'll be a photo.
Powers is ridden along. She's got to do better. Caledonia Road is moving up on the outside, and they're into the stretch. And it is Perfect Miss, the leader. On the inside, Strategic Dream. Separation of Powers. Here she comes now. Separation of Powers has been under a drive, but she's taken the lead now, and she's moving away. Caledonia Road is clearly in second as the classy Separation of Powers proves too good in the frisette. She won it by almost 4 lengths on the wire. Moonshine Memories, who's thrown in the towel. Alluring Star up the turn in front. Caledonia Road comes on. Piedi Bianchi trying to weave through traffic, swings to the outside. Alluring Star. Here's Caledonia Road running on by. Blonde Bomber from the back of the pack comes late. Caledonia Road and Mr. Breeders' Cup Mike Smith have done it over Alluring Star and Blonde Bomber in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Is a Layla Noor 3/4, 1:16-1. They're in the stretch now. Here's Wonder Godot up to grab the lead. On the outside is held accountable, and Layla Noor, more power, is towards the rail as they pass the 8th pole. It's Wonder Godot now in front by 3. More has moved into second, but she's not going to catch Wonder Godot and Johnny Velasquez. They win the Demoiselle by 3.5 lengths. More Power was second. Layla Noor finished third, and the final
1.5 off the pace is now dropped out to trail. They're at the top of the stretch, and Yesterday's News now shaken up on the front end as Dream Tree is up to challenge on the outside, and Dream Tree has gone right on by Yesterday's News, and she did it with ease. Dream Tree opening up for Drayden Van Dyke in the Starlet. She's lengths in front. Yesterday's News back to second, long way back to Piedi Bianchi. Dream Tree, a star in the making. She wins the Starlet by 3.5.
But is hard pressed to do so. Now they're level pegging. A length in front of Win the War with a 1/4 mile to go. Another length to the maiden Midnight Bisou. 4 deep on the swing for home. And they're followed by Yesterday's News. Win the War is starting to come through the pack. At the 8th pole, Steph being Steph. Midnight Bisou. Win the War getting to third in the middle. It's Midnight Bisou taking up the lead with a 16th to go. Moving away from Steph being Steph and Win the War. Midnight Bisou. Midnight Bisou scores by 4 lengths. Second, Win the War or Steph being Steph. From Yesterday's News, and Ariana finished 5th.
Between fillies, Blonde Bomber outside Stronger Than Ever is in range as they straighten past the quarter pole. It's Wonder Godot at the top of the fairground stretch. 3/4 in 1 minute 13.69 seconds. Wonder Godot comes under attack now from Stronger Than Ever, who's forged in front in the final furlong for Florent Giroux. It's Stronger Than Ever, and Wonder Godot is set for a fight past the 16th. Stronger Than Ever narrowly. Wonder Godot battles Stronger Than Ever down toward the wire in the Silver Bullet Day. Stronger Than Ever by a head to Wonder Godot. Missive was third. Blonde Bomber 4th in front of Heavenly Love.
As they hit the quarter pole, it's old-fashioned style with the lead into the lane. Midnight Disguise is running in second, and Hale is now dropped back with 1/8 of a mile to the finish. It is old-fashioned style and Midnight Disguise. It's between those two with a 16th to the finish. And now Midnight Disguise has taken over from old-fashioned style. Midnight Disguise bounds home to win the Busanda by 3.5. Old Fashioned Style was second.
And for 46 and 3/2 mile, they run to the top of the stretch. Take Charge. Paula floats wide off the corner and still has the lead, but Heaven has my Nikki. Battles on toward the inside second. Late run from Sultry down the stand side with Morning Destiny. Final furlong, Take Charge Paula and Paco Lopez kicking away. It's Take Charge Paula clear at the 16th pole. Take Charge Paula with the win in the forward gal by 3.5. Sultry second, My Miss Lily third, then Heaven has my Nikki and Morning Destiny.
She goes up easily within a length of the front runner at the quarter pole. Steph being Steph, lurking right in behind the Baffert stablemates, running a useful race in third. And they're followed into the stretch by Exuberance. Dream Tree quickly shrugs off 13 squared. The favourite coming past the 8th pole on a 2.5 length lead. Steph being Steph is boxing wider out is Exuberance, but Dream Tree's making a short work of the Las Virginas. Dream Tree undefeated. About 4 lengths at the wire, well taken in hand. Second, Exuberance, a neck in front of Steph being Steph, and then 13 squared.
And the upset might be on. So Refined drifts out off the inner rail and has the lead, and still in the clear and the one to catch. CS In Charge is now set down for the drive and runs at the leader. And now Daisy is back running again inside the final furlong. It's So Refined in front. CS In Charge runs at the leader second with Daisy. CS In Charge and Daisy flying on late, but she'll settle for second on the outside. Mirror from last to third.
Racing into second now is Red Ruby. Typhosha is coming under a ride toward the inside. So is Cosmic Burst. They straighten away at the top of the lane. Sassy Sienna confronted to the outside by Red Ruby. Sassy Sienna and Red Ruby. Cosmic Burst is racing in third, and Red Ruby is going to the lead as they drive to the finish here. Sassy Sienna is going to be second, but in the Martha Washington, it's Red Ruby and Robbie Alvarado taking it here, off by themselves by some 3.5.
Monomoy Girl, a steady gain on the outside for Florent Giroux. Then Wonder Godot, Heavenly Love, she's a Julie. Last to make the top of the fairground stretch where Classy Act is trying to dodge a bullet. Here comes Monomoy Girl, up on the outside to battle Classy Act. 3/4 went at 11.80. There's a furlong to go. She ducked out. Did Monomoy Girl, but's taking the lead from Classy Act as they come down to the final 16th. Wonder Godot's third and is running on, but it's Monomoy Girl and the Rachel Alexandra Stakes. Florent Giroux and Monomoy Girl won by 3. Classy Act was second. Wonder Godot third. Patrona Margarita finished.
So there's a look back at kind of the races from when they were 2-year-old fillies and branching over into 3-year-old fillies now, and it's still a little bit of a toss-up in the division. Obviously, Monomy's Girl ran a stellar race in the Rachel Alexandra. She probably moves a little bit to the top of the division. Horse named Daisy that you saw on the Suncoast there certainly looked interesting to me. You know, it might be a filly that to watch come the Oaks, and you just never know. Obviously, we're gearing up now. We're coming into the final 2 months before the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, so the point values increase, the importance of the stakes races increase, so everything's going to really start heating up over the next 2 months. But as I said, there is a point system for the fillies, as there is for the Colts, as far as getting into the Kentucky Oaks. And I'm just going to pull that up right now for you guys to see. So as you can see here, there is a point total system, roughly the same. Mononomy Girl, 54 points with that big win in the Rachel Alexandra. Caledonia Road, surprised probably a lot of people in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She is on her way, coming close to a return. Wonder Godot, a very tough hard knocker there. Dream Tree from the Baffert barn, never count out Baffert in any of these things and going on down. So it is going to be very interesting to kind of see where they go from here, and as we look kind of what the next races hold for the fillies, we can look at it right now. So you've got the UAE Dokes over at Meydan. It might produce a starter, but you know, a lot of times the big fillies looking for the Oaks are not going to travel all the way to Dubai for that race and then be back and be fit in time for the Kentucky Oaks. The Busher, Devona Dale, Santa Isabel, and you can see now the point values start really going up a little bit. So now a win in some of these more bigger races, the Honeybee, especially things like the Fairground Oaks or the Gulfstream Parks Oaks, probably almost guarantees you a spot in the gate for the Oaks this year. So There we go. As I said, pretty much it's a kind of a down week a little bit for the 3-year-olds as far as the Kentucky Derby picture is concerned. We did have some races, last weekend, and now we're kind of in a little bit of a lull. No major races on the Road to the Derby series this past weekend, but we are gearing up for races that will be happening next weekend. And especially the biggest one there is going to be the Fountain of Youth. Good Magic finally looks like he's going to debut in that for his 3-year-old season. So be very interesting to see if he has really progressed from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old. And now again we're getting into crunch time, as right around then is going to be the 2-month mark before the Derby. So all of the races have much more importance and points. This is also the time of year where we sometimes do see some newer shooters emerge, and there were kind of 2 that have emerged over the last couple of weeks, I would say, that apparently have everybody really excited. One from the Baffert barn, one from the Pletcher barn. Well, I mean, what can you say? Baffert, Pletcher, Derby, obviously those are the races that they point for, and owners, give their horses to these trainers specifically to get them going on the road to the Kentucky Derby. So we're going to look at 2 of them now. They haven't really started in Stakes Company yet, so their next starts in Stakes Company are going to be really important. First is called Magnum Moon, trained by Pletcher, and the other is Justify, trained by Baffert.
First point will make first run. Vouch is now shaken up for run on the outside. A length and a half farther back, Magnum Moon. And Saez, still biding his time, awaits for an opening. With a quarter of a mile to run, they line up 3 across the track. Dreamer's Point has the lead. Vouch on the outside is set down for the drive. Now to be second. Up on the outside, Magnum Moon. Zayas waits no longer. He swings to the center of the racetrack and now cuts him loose. But meanwhile, High Enford and Jesus Castanon, they're trying to pull the upset. Magnum Moon in full stride on the outside. He's absolutely galloping. Magnum Moon very impressively to run. A 3-year-old with a future going away by 2. And the running time on the board, 1:39.18.
Lead now. Justify shakes away from Showtime Rocket at the 5/16. Paddock Picker second. Canby beginning to run on. He splits horses. He's coming home strongly to a joint. But Justify, confidently ridden by Van Dyke at the top of the stretch, leads 3 lengths to Canby. Third, less than 3/16 to go, and it's Justify by 3 or 4 lengths. Canby under heavy pressure, can do only as well as second placing behind a very promising type. Justify. This gleaming chestnut wins by 6 on debut from Canby and Paddock Pick.
Dreamer's Point will make first.
So there you have it. Obviously, 2 horses who have run very, very good figs from, as well as very, very visually impressive performances. So again, this is the time of year where 3-year-olds can improve leaps and bounds from race to race. So it's definitely, you not only want to keep your eye on the stakes races that are coming up, you also want to keep your eye a little bit sometimes on these allowance and maiden races. Getting kind of into the point where even a really impressive maiden may not be able to get enough points to get into the Derby at this point, but who knows, could be a horse that you look for, especially down the road, to see kind of how they're doing. So that, as I said, no real change on the Road to the Derby points system this week, because there really haven't been any races that have had points implications. But we are going to take a quick look at what's going on with the upcoming races. And again, we are coming into crunch time here, so we got a couple of overseas races to start us off. Beginning of March, but then you get in the Fountain of Youth, the Gotham, the San Felipe, 3 big races, Tampa Bay Derby. Be very interesting to see what happens if Catholic Boy comes into that, or Flame Away goes back into that race. Vino Rizzo, the top 3 that really came out of that, be interesting to see if they go back into the Tampa Bay Derby. And then you start getting into, again, some of the bigger points races. And when you get to these 50-point races, a win there probably almost guarantees you a good spot in, a starting spot in the Derby, as we say. So I talked a little bit last week about this whole point system, and really the point system has evolved over the last couple of years. And a lot of people don't quite understand, well, how do you get into the Derby? Because obviously there's, everybody wants to have their horse in the starting gate for that race on the first Saturday in May, and we all just can't have that. So really, what system is used to kind of determine which horses get in? It used to be they based it on what they called graded earnings, which basically means certain stakes races have grades to them, grade 1, 2, or 3, and how much money that horse won in those graded stakes races was used to determine if they would get a spot in the starting gate or not. And the system came under a lot of criticism, probably rightfully so, because there were so many rich races for 2-year-olds at that point. Basically, if your horse was a really precocious 2-year-old that was better than a lot of the others, and maybe won something like the Delta Jackpot that had $1 million purse, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile that had $1 million+ purse, you were basically guaranteed a spot in the Derby. You did not have to start your horse again as a 3-year-old until the Derby if you wanted to. But what they were finding was a lot of these very precocious 2-year-olds never really fulfilled or made that next leap to 3. And that was a problem. Because basically it left us with a lot of sprinters or horses that really were not Derby caliber in the Derby, and some horses that were really good and maturing at the right time to really make an impact in the Triple Crown on the outside looking in because they didn't have the graded stakes earnings. So they tinkered around and they were trying to figure out exactly how they can do it, and they kind of went now to what they consider a point system. And this is a video that's coming straight from Churchill Downs, and Churchill Downs Incorporated. So, you know, they will explain just very briefly exactly what goes into the point system and how horses get into the gate now on the first Saturday in May.
You get one chance in your lifetime to win the coveted roses around your neck. Each year, 28,000 foals are born. About half will ever make it to the racetrack. As we go through the road to the Kentucky Derby, we narrow that down to 20 horses in the starting gate.
Just making the Kentucky Derby starting gate is a tremendous accomplishment for any owner, trainer, breeder, horse, but being competitive in the race is the ultimate goal. Winning the race is something that everyone dreams about.
The road to the Kentucky Derby is a series of 36 select races that will help determine who gets in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May. Horses will accrue points by finishing in the top 4 of those races.
It's down to the wire, the Champagne. It is too close to call.
IRAP 31-1 wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
It's Gervin and the Risen Star Stakes.
The first 2 races start at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby. It's the Iroquois. For the fillies, it is the Pocahontas. So those starting points at Churchill Downs start the official road to the Kentucky Derby. All races are 1 mile and over. All those races geared toward finding those most likely to succeed at 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May.
If you run well in a race like the Iroquois, you have that additional confidence going into the spring of your horse's 3-year-old season that your horse has already performed over the racetrack where the Kentucky Derby is held.
And so if you won the Iroquois and you pick up the first points and you get to winning into the Breeders' Cup, at least that you'll have that box checked off that your horse can handle Churchill Downs surface.
The road to the Kentucky Derby series is must-watch TV. You will learn the names of the horses, their connections, the trainers, the jockeys, the owners. You never know when a horse might create a huge impression with a breakthrough performance, you know, in this year's road to the Kentucky Derby. You get
Alright, so we've reached Doc's discussion points for this week, and you know, I saw a couple of things that were floated around in the New York State Legislature where really there is a lot of push now to have night racing at Belmont Park, and obviously it goes along with the push to try to get more millennials into the game and fitting with their schedules where they work a lot during the day, and you know, they're obviously out much later at night, and so we want to try to attract that crowd. And there's obviously a lot of things that would go into night racing at Belmont Park. The first of which is it would not happen really right now until 2019, and it probably fits a lot with the renovation plans they want to do with the Islanders Stadium coming in and bringing in new fans, and it's a good idea. It's a strain on the horses and the horsemen, I think, because obviously they still have to be up at the same time the next morning, so anybody who participates in night racing, obviously, would tell you that they probably approach it with mixed emotions, but if it is good for the sport, eventually it's going to trickle down and be good for the horsemen as well. However, that's not really the point of this whole Doc's discussion segment, and that is, it's really great to get the millennials there, and it's really great to try to, you know, get them involved and interested in the sport, and hopefully turning a lot of them into fans, maybe some into owners, and hopefully a lot into handicappers. But you've got to have a way for them to do it, at least initially, without any kind of risk of loss. And so you see a lot with these casinos and the online games, even with poker, things like that, there's a way to play for free. You play in real time. It's fake money, basically Monopoly money, but you get a feel for exactly how to play the game. A lot of people learn poker this way, so this way they're not actually losing real money. So the question then becomes, why couldn't we set something like that up for racing? There are these bet calculators that are out there, and a lot of these different stats groups, Stats Lens and DRF Formulator, all of this stuff. Why can't people come together and figure out a way to get people to be able to bet with fake money, but in real time? Not a case of, showing them a past performance of a race that happened 3 years ago and then saying, here's what, you look for, because people will cheat that way. I mean, they'll go back and look, and they want to see what it's like to really experience the different types of bets and the returns that you can potentially get on those bets. And we're not talking about the really difficult pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. Just starting them out basic, win, place, and show, and let them see how they actually can make some money and have a lot of fun just betting those. But what they have to have access to is free past performances and the ability on a web platform of some kind to bet with fake money. So this way they can learn a little bit of the nuance of the game and they're not losing money right away to start. They can maybe refine their handicapping skills a little bit, learn a little bit about reading past performances and what they mean, all without losing any money. And I'm surprised nobody really has figured out a way to come up with this yet, and I'm hoping if somebody sees this, or maybe the ideas are being propagated a little bit around there to this type of thing, because like I said, you see it all the time, both with online casinos now. You can go in and find an app that pretty much allows you to play almost any video poker or slots game for fun and for free. Again, you can do it with just straight poker, blackjack, all of these things. They're fun games for people to play. It's a little bit much more of a learning curve, obviously, with racing, but people still can get into it. What they need is help from the industry and those that control the data in the industry. So places like Equipace, like Daily Racing Form, they would have to get on board and for certain races on certain days offer free past performances, free formulators for those races, free Stats Lens for those races, free Brisnet for those, whatever it takes, so that people can then access those, look at them, have a little bit of fun looking it up, and then watch those races for free as well on select days and nights. And it doesn't have to necessarily be every race, obviously, but enough races that people during the course of a week can maybe get into this a little bit and understand what's going on and learn a little bit along the way. So that's really, my discussion topic for this week is free gambling. Well, not really, but certainly something that you could produce that would introduce people to the sport in a fun way where there's no loss. So that's my discussion point for this week's show, and I'd be curious to know what you think about it. You certainly can drop me a line at shelterdoc38@yahoo.com, shelterdoc38@yahoo.com, or just go ahead and drop a line in the comments from this YouTube broadcast. I certainly think it's something that, most definitely can be done, and you never know what might happen and what might happen when. So that's Doc's discussion points for this week's show. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a, not a lot happening in the racing world this week, but there was something that, we look for the weird and the interesting sometimes, and while we definitely always want to kind of promote this sport and say how great it is for the fans to be out at the track, there's certain things fans do that all make us cringe, and, it's like, obviously alcohol is probably involved, or mental illness in some of these things, and it happened again this past Friday at Santa Anita. There was a fan that ran out actually onto the training track and was apprehended fortunately on the turf course. The concern, of course, was that this fan could have gotten out because the third race was about to be run, and fortunately he was apprehended and then held on the turf course until that race, which was being run on the dirt at that time, was fully run, and so nobody was injured. But it does always, kind of bring out the fact that you don't want people doing that. There's so much risk for injury and things like that, but it is a little bit of a lighter-sided thing, I think, at times. So really, it brought to mind a couple of previous instances where things like this has happened. So we're going to take a look at 3 of those, both through kind of news reports, and, just kind of show you that fans will do this. We don't want them doing it, but sometimes these are the things that bring racing into the light a little bit. And, looking back, thankfully nobody was hurt, so sometimes people can look at these with a little bit of a smile and a chuckle, but don't do this. Please don't do these things.
Our most bizarre racing moment of 1999 took place on the track at Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore, Maryland on Preakness Day.
The horses were in the stretch of the Grade 3 Maryland Breeders' Cup Handicap, the 7th race on the card that featured the second Jewel of Racing's Triple Crown. Suddenly, a man appeared on the racetrack. He had climbed over the fence in the infield, went across the turf course, and then stood in the center of the track as the field charged towards him. Watch now as he'll take a swing at the 4-5 race favorite Artax, actually hitting jockey George Chavez on the boot. Artax, badly bothered by the incident, finished 5th, all betting money refunded. Arrested, 22-year-old Lee Chang Farrell, who told police he was trying to commit suicide. He was charged with reckless endangerment, disorderly conduct, trespassing, and resisting arrest. Mr. Farrell's legal proceedings continue, with the latest hearing held in November in the Maryland courts.
As you know, things can get a little strange near the beach in Del Mar, California. But this past Thursday, something really bizarre took place during the running of the 8th race. Let's take a look now at the race and the stretch. See the horses coming down the stretch, and look who's in front of him. A 38-year-old man identified as Russell Howard Caputo. He had jumped over the outside rail inside the 16th pole and joined the horses during the stretch drive, throwing his duffel bag out of the way. Riders did a great job to avoid him. Now watch this chase. Fortunately, no horses, riders, or Mr. Caputo were injured. He jumped over the inside rail, ran across the turf course, and as you see, soon was going to be apprehended by a few security people. Mr. Caputo was transferred to the county mental health treatment facility for evaluation. He was disqualified, his number taken down. He was not official in the race.
Now then, there was a bizarre finish to the 8:45 at Leicester last night after a spectator ran onto the course in the 7 furlong 9 yards Cream Gorse handicap. Well, the race was eventually won by the favourite Illustrious Prince, but take a look at your screen here on the near side of your picture as this spectator starts racing the horses.
Well, we've just seen Illustrious Prince being available, but the attention will focus on the absolute idiot who surely has to be banned for life from racecourses everywhere in the United Kingdom and maybe in the world, because you just can't do that. He's actually joined in, hasn't he? He's racing the horses. I mean, what is happening? How has he been allowed to get into that position?
Just don't expect it, do you? You don't expect someone to get out onto the track, to be honest.
I mean, in all seriousness, it's your life in danger, isn't it? I'm sorry, there's absolutely no defence for that at all, is there?
So again, you know, those are just some three, and yeah, you can look back at them with a chuckle and stuff, but especially if you look at that one that happened at Del Mar, the one in the middle, certainly really serious risk for severe injury to both horse and rider there, especially with him then throwing a duffel bag that a horse then looked like he jumped over or trampled over. You know, tracks do have to have proper security to prevent these things from happening. Fortunately, they are very few and far between, but it did make me think back to some of those things that had happened in the past that now you can look back at and laugh a little bit about, especially somebody taking a swing at a horse. And actually, what was really interesting was the horse that he did take a swing at in that race, Artax, actually did turn out to be a top-class Grade 1 sprinter. He wasn't quite there yet at that time, but he did go on to, I believe, win a Breeders' Cup Sprint, if not that year, the year after. So, you know, you never know. Sometimes maybe he just knew the horse was going to get better. You just don't know. Obviously, alcohol's involved in these things, but you know, we do want people to come out to the track, really have a great time. But just remember, you know, stay in the fan section. Don't go out where the horses are. You know, things can be quite dangerous there. So, and unfortunately, as you can probably tell, those guys were not exactly probably feeling too lucky after that race when those races went off and they were captured. But, you know, there's still plenty of opportunity this racing season for you not only to feel lucky, but stay lucky.
Want a shot at winning $1 million? Who wouldn't? Here's your chance. The new Stay Lucky app from America's Best Racing. First, you've got to download it. It's available on Android and iPhone. Now that you've got it downloaded, just click on the app and set up your account. Once you're logged in, click on this quick tutorial on how to play. Now, you're just about ready to start picking some winners and building a streak. But before you do, a little help for you from some pros. Each week, the best races in the country are loaded onto Stay Lucky. All you gotta do is click Make a Pick, and you've got a fresh menu of races to sort through. You can pick one horse for as many races as you like. The more you play, the faster your streak will grow. As you start stringing together winners, you'll start racking up prizes. Get to that 20 win mark, you're gonna win $1 million. And with the Stay Lucky app, you're always just a click away from everything that's on americasbestracing.net. So, what are you waiting for? Download it, start picking winners, and stay lucky.
So there you can see, obviously a great thing. It's on my phone. It should be on everybody's phone. It's a free game to play. And if you look at the standings now, if you remember last week when I brought the standings up about this time, there were people that had streaks of 7, 8 races in a row. That went away. All it takes is one loss to bring you right back down to 0. So now we've only got basically a couple of folks that have raced a two race streaks going. So anybody can jump in at any point on this and really enjoy themselves. And it's a lot of fun. It's a way to kind of learn all about the new stuff that's out there, get a little bit of an introduction into the game, and really have a lot of fun while doing it. It follows a whole bunch of different stakes races across all sorts of different genres as far as all of that stuff goes. And again, simple as playing it on your phone. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just download it, sign on, and you're on your way. So I hope everybody does get involved in the Stay Lucky app from America's Best Racing. Certainly is a wonderful product, and certainly something I will be playing week in and week out. Hasn't really worked out for me, as you can tell, because I'm not on the leaderboard yet, at least of this contest. But I have checked in again. For those of you that followed me on last week's show, there is a blog that is put out by Teresa Gennaro, and she is a wonderful reporter for Thoroughbred Racing. It's called Brooklyn Backstretch, and they have started basically a charity derby fantasy type contest where people can jump in. It doesn't cost anything to get in. Unfortunately, the enrollment period, so to speak, is now closed. But for those that could get in, it doesn't cost anything for anybody to really get in on it. But if you want to make a general donation when you are, it helps to increase the pot. And the beautiful thing of this is the pot goes all to charities. And basically the top 3 finishers in this contest basically get to decide where that money goes to their charity, and so long as it's a racing related charity. And this year, which I think is really great, also just 10% off the top is going to go to the relief efforts of horses that were stranded down in Puerto Rico and some other disasters as well. So that's a really great thing that Teresa's put through. It's in its 10th year, and remarkably somehow I am still in the lead in this contest, and I do not know how this has happened. Obviously my lead has shrunk quite a bit to only 3 points now, and there's a lot of people hard on my heels, but so far I am holding them off. Hopefully we're in a little bit of a breather section here. And I am playing for Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue, so that is a really important thing. Great organization. You'll see a little bit about them right at the end of the show again. Certainly an organization you want to check out. But I am still somehow in the lead in this contest, which I think, for me personally, is amazing, because I, as I say, probably couldn't pick the winner in a walkover. So that is just about going to do it for this episode of Doc's Racing Digest. As I said, it's a little bit of a lighter week. We're kind of in an in-between week with racing. Things are going to gear up again starting next weekend. We got some more Derby preps coming up, hopefully some more handicap races. We'll try to take a look at some of the horses that will be heading over to Dubai at the end of the month. In addition, I'm going to be out with Par at the International Horse Expo, happening at the Farm Show Complex in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So if you happen to be out there, certainly check out Par's booth when you come by, as well as all the other great vendors and charities that will be there. Check out some of the events that are going on. It's all about the horse. It's an amazing thing. Hopefully I'll have some interviews with people that we can share on next week's show, and it's really going to be a great thing. Who knows what the week in racing is going to bring, but we will try to bring it to you all here on Doc's Racing Digest. So again, that's about going to do it for this week. I do thank everybody for tuning in live, or who might be watching this on the replay, and hope you all have a wonderful week of racing, and in all of the photo finishes in your life, may you always come out on the right side of the bob. We will see you next time.
One of the racehorse rescues that is very near and dear to Doc and many people in the Mid-Atlantic region is Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue. Check out Par today and see all the amazing things that they have done as they take all these horses from the racetrack to the ribbons and to wonderful second careers. Support Par today. Is a proud member of the organization Thoroughfan, the only nationally recognized fan organization for thoroughbred racing. Check out thoroughfan.com today and find out all the amazing things there are to learn about this great sport of thoroughbred horse racing, and also how to become a member and add your voice today. Thoroughfan, giving the fans a voice.